Bill Cosby has been arrested for allegedly drugging and sexually assaulting a woman with his fingers 10 years ago. No, I'm serious. She says his fingers were the instruments of assault. First off, let me say I'm not a friend of Bill Cosby. I'm neither shocked nor saddened at this turn of events for him. He spent the better part of his post-Cosby show life berating black men for getting into trouble with the legal system and not taking care of black women. He said the problem was we were just lazy and sagged our pants. Well, Bill didn't sag his pants, and he's in big trouble with the system now. So much for that little theory, eh, Bill? Right now, there's this unbelievable number of women, practically all white, who've come out of the woodwork in sync to say that Bill Cosby drugged them and raped them decades ago. Apparently, they were all so traumatized by the event, they all decided to sit on this information until well after the statute of limitations had passed. There's no chance that all these women are telling the truth. But mathematics would seem to make it difficult, though not impossible to conceive, that they're all lying either. If even one of them is right, Bill Cosby is guilty of a crime. No one is disputing that. But I'm asking a deeper question. Should Bill Cosby be put in jail? I haven't seen any of the evidence against Cosby by any of his accusers, but I'm here to say I don't need to. No matter what evidence they do or don't have, I want to say Cosby should not do a day of prison time for it. Not because he's a celebrity. Not because he's a national treasure. Even if Bill Cosby is guilty, it's not right for him to go to jail for it. Because 3 days ago, I just watched a district attorney in Cleveland tell us that seeing a 12-year-old boy shot dead by white police at point-blank range with a toy gun on his waist was justifiable. And I watched as white Americans cheered the killing of a child. 5 days before that, I saw a grand jury say that there'll be no indictments against the cops who killed Sandra Bland in her prison cell. 6 days before that, a grand jury had a mistrial and refused to indict the first cop who killed Freddie Gray in Baltimore. 7 months before that, we watched Michael Brelow, the Cleveland police officer who killed 2 people in a single night, walk free. You won't be surprised to hear this. The same prosecutor who let Tamir Rice's killer go free was the one working this case. Only a month before that, we watched the cop who killed Rekia Boyd get set free. Just like the Brelow case, the judge and the prosecutor were both in collusion on that one. 4 months before that, I watched as the Staten Island prosecutor said he wouldn't pursue charges against Daniel Pentalio, the linebacker-sized cop who strangled Eric Garner to death on video. And a month before that, I watched as the prosecutor in the Darren Wilson murder case refused to issue an indictment. Almost all of these killings were caught either on video or had literally dozens of witnesses who saw it happen, and yet you had prosecutors or jurors in all these cases who saw the plain evidence and said, even if the killer is guilty, let him go free. All of these cases have only one thing in common. The victim was black. For all this mock indignation about the so-called safety of women in the Cosby case, you didn't hear any of these people in the media or the internet express the same level of concern about the horrible things done to women like Sandra Bland and Rekia Boyd. But the difference is that they were black. The women Cosby allegedly went after were almost all white. And when you get down to it, that is the only reason this case exists today. Had this been Sandra Bland who accused him, the media and white society would be ignoring it like they do R. Kelly and his freight train of black victims. If there had been 100 Sandra Blands accusing Cosby, white society would be just as indifferent to their pain at the hands of a black man as they are of their deaths at the hands of white men. It's been 20 years since the O.J. Simpson trial, and even though black men are only 6% of the population, the media has decided it's once again time to make a grand circus out of the public lynching of a well-known black public figure. They're already getting ready for day-to-day coverage of his trial, just like they did with O.J. And O.J.'s only crime was that he allegedly did it to a white woman. Had Nicole Brown been black, the dominant society wouldn't have given a hill of beans about her. The majority of the society sees itself in a race war against black people, and the police are their frontline soldiers. The prosecutors are the lieutenants who take care of whitewashing the war crimes. Tamir Rice was a 5-foot-tall 12-year-old, playing at the park with a toy gun. How many of you had toy guns when you were kids? Children are supposed to play with their toys at the park. But amazingly, Tamir Rice got the police called on him for having a toy. The person who called the police even said it was a toy, which should have caused 911 to hang up the phone in their face, but it didn't happen. This made no difference to the police or the sympathizers with the cops who killed Tamir. In their eyes, all black people, including children, are enemy combatants. The people who want to indict Cosby are also trying to trot out an old and familiar deception. They say Cosby must be guilty because there are just so many women saying he assaulted them. First off, when you're a celebrity, you get stalkers from everywhere trying to take money from you. Charlie Sheen says that's the reason he paid people off not to reveal his HIV status. There were a lot of people who found out just so they could extort money from him. People accepted that explanation from a white celebrity, but when it's a black celebrity, all of a sudden, no one wants to hear it. White supremacy at its finest. The other problem with the ad populum argument is that the same people saying Cosby must be guilty because a lot of people are accusing him are the same white supremacist racists who say the police are not guilty of crimes against black people, even though a huge number of people and video evidence is accusing them. Look, I get it. No one said racism is logical or factual. It lies through its teeth daily. It's not about being just. It's about being ruthless. Bill Cosby's offense is that he had power over a bunch of white women. That's all. They came to his hotel room looking for money and power, and they walked away with nothing. And there is zero amount of physical evidence that says otherwise. There is nothing that says they did not consensually take drugs with Cosby in those hotels. That is far less evidence than we have against the white police officers who've been on a killing spree in America against black people. Ask yourself another question. Why is it you never hear about black police officers shooting up unarmed white people every month? As a matter of fact, you practically never hear of black police officers shooting unarmed people at all. Is this because black police officers are just genetically superior like black athletes? Or is it because of affirmative action for white police officers who are clearly unqualified for their positions but get hired over obviously better trained black officers? Tim Lohman was fired from his job as a police officer in Independence, Ohio after only 1 month on the job. He had an emotional meltdown with a gun while on the police firing range. He began sobbing uncontrollably and complaining about trouble with his girlfriend. He was fired. Lohman would spend the next 2 years applying to every police department he could find. All of them turned him down. Until March 2014, he was hired by the Cleveland Police Department, who didn't check his personnel file in Independence. 6 months later, he shoots unarmed 12-year-old Tamir Rice dead less than 2 seconds after getting out of his police car for playing in the park with a toy gun. And incredibly, you have people, even presidential candidates, defending this. But these same people want Cosby in jail. No, this isn't about justice or facts. This is about white supremacy, plain and simple. And now, I simply want Bill Cosby to get the same treatment. I want people to stop looking at anything he did before 2005 the same way we're told we shouldn't look at anything Tim Lohman or George Zimmerman did before 2013. I want Cosby to be treated like the victim while his accusers are the ones put on trial, the same way this scumbucket DA in Cleveland put a 12-year-old child on trial for his own murder. I want the criminal records of all his accusers to be the lead story on the evening news and the national news channels, the same way they made Sandra Bland's and Mike Brown's records the story to deflect attention from their killers. I want CNN to tell us how many of these women's parents used drugs, the same way they told us about Freddie Gray's mother using drugs. And lastly, I don't want to hear about his guilt. We've got reams of video of cops who are drop dead guilty across America, and no one is talking about that. White police are killing black people with no punishment and not even public condemnation. If the only way you can get arrested for a crime in America is if the victim is white and the perpetrator is black, then I see no reason for any arrests to happen at all. Bill Cosby's accusers are alive. The black victims of police violence are dead. And I'll be damned if I'm going to put living people who have zero evidence ahead of the dead who had video of their murders. So now I'm going to say what all the racists, feminist racists, and plantation sellouts have been saying for the last 3 years of seeing black people murdered by white supremacists in this country. It doesn't matter how many women are accusing him. It doesn't matter how many people say it happened. It doesn't matter what statements Cosby made in depositions, and it doesn't matter what evidence, physical or otherwise, you bring against him. He might be guilty, but so was George Zimmerman, Darren Wilson, Daniel Pantaleo, Michael Brelow, Dante Servin, the Baltimore Six, Tim Lohman, and all the others. They had lots of victims and lots of evidence against them too, and that didn't matter in their cases. So if no one cares about their guilt, we shouldn't care about Cosby's either. I want this black man to get the same white justice all these other people got. Let Bill Cosby go free. He's guilty, just like all the other people you let go free all these years.